it's Jen, and today we're going to go over the podcast that you must listen to if you want to get re-inspired, motivated, or just start your day with something that's not, TMZ. They really inspire me and motivate me when I need to, just give myself that oomph in the morning or, wake up, feel inspired to do something. And these are the ones that I will listen to, and I promise they will help you too. You must listen to them. Let's get into it. The first podcast that I actually always look to see if they have a new episode. I think it's only once a week. I'm pretty sure it's on Tuesdays, but I'm always checking their podcast first, and that is the Skinny Confidential Him and Her podcast with Lauren Everts and Michael Bostic. So Lauren Everts, if you don't know her, she is the Skinny Confidential. It's a brand that she started with a blog years and years ago, and now she has expanded to podcasts with her husband and YouTube and just a lot of different platforms. So what they do on their podcast is they interview anyone interesting, anyone at all. That's what she says. She says if they have a story, if they're interesting, they're going to interview them. So what I love about this podcast is that they get so specific. I'm just like Lauren, and I want to know, whether it's an artist or a trainer or someone that I just can't even relate to at all. I want to know what the routine is of someone so successful in their field. So she asks them, every hour in the hour, what are they doing? What's their morning routine? When do they wake up? What do they eat? What dressing do you use on your salad? Like everything that goes into them being them. And that's the stuff that I love. I love it so much. I want to know, what sort of things I can incorporate into my routine that'll make me have a clearer head or more successful or whatever it is. I just love that. And she has the most interesting people on. Anywhere from bloggers to authors, reality stars, to life coaches and spiritualists and fitness gurus, just all walks of life, and they are all so successful. Their banter is really entertaining, but then she really gets down to the nitty-gritty of what makes them successful and their full upbringing, and I just love that. And I always find something to pick up on, whether it's like a book they recommend or a meditation in the morning. I love learning about that stuff, so that's my favorite. Okay, next is a Betches podcast, and it's called When's Happy Hour. They interview, founders of companies and entrepreneurs. So one that I actually really loved was the co-founder of SoulCycle, who founded or was a part of the founding of WeWork. So listening to her and everything that went into making her business and starting from the ground up was really inspiring. That's just one example. So it's Sammy Aileen Jordana from who founded the Betches themselves, so they're entrepreneurs themselves. So, just hearing their perspective and having a conversation between two entrepreneurs and founders of companies that I would definitely have started is just really inspiring. And I love seeing how they got there, and yeah, great way to start the day. Next, this one is really only going to apply to you if you're interested in YouTube or, being an influencer or anything in that realm. I started listening to the podcast. It's called the YouTube Power Hour podcast with Erica Vieira. It used to be called Beauty and the Vlog, which I loved, but she changed it to the YouTube Power Hour podcast. So what this podcast is, she interviews YouTubers. So I actually started listening to this a year and a half before I even started a YouTube channel. If you're interested in the lives of YouTubers or just, what goes into it, if you're interested in maybe starting your own podcast, I was way too nervous. It was a year and a half before I even started, but I loved listening to it and hearing what went into it. There's so much more that goes into it than just, sitting in front of a camera and talking. They go over SEO, and you just hear the stories and backgrounds of how these people went from 0 followers to million. Number 5 is, of course, Oprah's Podcast. I just learned that she had a podcast like maybe a month ago. So that's why I wanted to include it in here, because if you don't know, that's life-changing. It's called Oprah's Super Soul Conversations. So she has, her own podcast with just her on it, and she'll talk about relationships, or I just started listening, so I need to look. Here's some examples. The ones that she has on her own most recently was the best relationship advice, and she talks about the life-changing advice she received from her mentor, Dr. Maya Angelou. Who doesn't want to hear advice from Oprah's mentor? And then she knows she has one where she talks about the power of ego. But then she also has guests. So the most recent guest she had was Malcolm Gladwell, who is a journalist and podcaster and a New York Times bestseller. I mean, obviously Oprah's going to have the best guests possible. I think that speaks for itself. Who the hell wouldn't want to listen to Oprah in the morning? All right, so those are my top 5 inspirational and motivational ones. So stay tuned for my next podcast video. I will put it right up here once it's live, and it's going to be on the most entertaining, fun podcast to listen to in 2019. All right, love you guys. Mwah.